Okay, guys, welcome back. Now, look, this is just a continuation of the last thing of notes that we did about enlightened absolutists. So this is not a new essential question. I had to cut myself off last time because I don't want to keep you guys too long. So this is, like I said, just a continuation. We're still talking about whether or not the absolute rulers of Europe adopted Enlightenment principles. Did they or did they not? All right, so we ended up with Maria Theresa of Austria. Okay, pause if you need to, guys, and let's continue our discussion. All right, well, yeah, we already did that. Okay, yeah, moving on. Okay, so let's move on to Joseph II of Austria, guys. Okay, so Joseph II, guys, is going to rule after Maria Theresa, all right? And basically, he granted religious toleration to non-Catholics. Now, remember, one of the big things about the Enlightenment, guys, is religious toleration, okay? And that's actually a pretty big deal because if you think about it, the Holy Roman Empire, guys, has been largely Catholic. And if you think about back in the days of the Reformation, there's no way in the world that these guys would have willingly let Protestants worship. So, guys, for Joseph II to say, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm going to grant religious toleration to, people that aren't Catholic, very big deal. But he kind of had to because, the Holy Roman Empire is very diverse, guys. It's got Catholics, it's got Protestants, it's got Jewish people, it's got Muslim people living in there. It's got Orthodox Christians, which are mostly like Eastern Europeans. So, probably a pretty good move. All right. Another thing he did was he limited the power of Catholic orders like the Jesuits. All right, remember, guys, we talked about the Reformation, how one of the things about the Counter-Reformation or the Catholic Reformation was they created a whole bunch of religious orders to go around and do things. Well, one of the most powerful of those orders was called the Jesuits, and the Jesuits controlled a lot of land, had a lot of money. It had a lot of power and control and influence in certain parts of Europe and pretty much all over the world. And once again, Joseph is going to limit the power of that. Another thing he did was he forbade nobles direct contact with the Pope. All right. So one of the things is, guys, he's trying to limit the influence nobles have over the Pope and the influence, guys, that just nobles have in general. And he brought the church under the control of the state. Okay. So one of the big ideas, guys, I guess, I need to slow down here. I'm like running through this. One of the big things, guys, about the Enlightenment is a lot of Enlightenment thinkers believe that the church should be under the control of the state. All right, now not everybody believes that, but basically government should be secular. Now, we learned what secular means a long time ago, guys. It means that basically a separation of church and state, right? The government should have nothing to do with religion, all right? The government shouldn't enforce any kind of religion. So bringing the church under the control of the state, guys, is kind of an Enlightenment idea because it would mean that basically the church has to act in the interests of the people of the country, all right? So those are some religious reforms, guys, that Joseph II of Austria, remember, guys, Austria is just a big state in the Holy Roman Empire. But guys, much like Frederick the Great, he is going to abolish serfdom. All right, grant peasants the freedom like marriage. All right, grant peasants the right to learn a trade and not just work the crops or, things like that, guys, but actually work a trade without landlord's permission. You see, back in the day, guys, if you remember, serfs were attached to the land they were born, right? Serfs had to obey their landlords. Well, just like Frederick the Great of Prussia, guys, Joseph II is like, hey, I'm going to basically end serfdom. I'm going to free the peasants. All right? All right, now, once again, guys, just like Frederick the Great, guys, if you free peasants, then that means you have a whole bunch of future landlords that you can then tax, right? So 1789, guys, Joseph II passed a tax on all landowners. So you guys, I mean, the big thing is, like I told you in the last thing in notes, guys, everything works out for the benefit of the state, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's a very Enlightenment thing to free the peasants and free the serfs. But at the same time, guys, you're doing it for another reason of being able to tax them, right? Being able to tax landowners. Because if they can own land, then bam, you can kind of raise their taxes. All right, pause if you need to. So, Enlightenment, I lied, guys. Pause if you need to. All right, Enlightenment, guys, maybe more than others. I mean, he was pretty enlightened, okay? Probably more enlightened than the other groups that we've talked about. But remember, guys, it's not like these guys were full Enlightenment believers because everything they did benefited them in some way. All right, now, for real, pause if you need to. Okay, Leopold II of Austria. All right, so, guys, you know, they all look the same. You know, the Habsburgs, guys, there's a meme about the Habsburgs all looking the same. You know why, guys? Because they intermarried with, you know, cousins. All right? True story. Look up the memes. Anyway, guys, I'm just looking at the pictures. All right, so Leopold II. All right, now, here's the deal, guys. Joseph's reforms, as you can imagine, anger the nobles. Do you guys remember the Fronde we talked about under Louis XIV, how Cardinal Richelieu and Cardinal Mazarin, these cardinals, guys, ruled for Louis XIV and Louis XV when they were younger, or Louis XIII and Louis XIV when they were younger, right, guys? And they kind of took powers away from the nobles. Well, nobles, guys, don't like their power being removed. They don't like all of these changes. So basically, Leopold II is going to kind of take back some of those things. So one of the things he did was he repealed or pulled back the taxes on nobles and landowners. All right? One of the things, guys, that monarchs fear is their nobility rising up against them, right? You need the loyalty of your nobles. And, guys, when you've had some Enlightenment kind of rulers make all these changes, it's going to really piss off people that lose power. All right? So, guys, a lot of the nobles were upset with Joseph II, and he basically returned local power back to nobles. He gave nobles their power back, all right? He took away their taxes that they were being taxed on. And if you remember, guys, one of the things that nobles want is autonomy over their own land. So by returning local power back to nobles, that's exactly what he did. He said, all right, nobles, you're in charge of your own land again. So anyway, guys, I guess you could say the Habsburgs in Austria were kind of Enlightenment, but like I said, in the end, they get repealed, right? A lot of the things get repealed and pulled back by Leopold II. Okay? Pause if you need to. All right, Catherine the Great of Russia. She's one of the big ones, guys, as far as was she Enlightenment or not. All right? So, as you can remember, guys, if you recall, Russia is behind, right? Russia was behind, and they still kind of are, in society and technology and the way they do things in their government. And if you guys remember, it was Peter the Great that went to visit Western Europe and learn their ways, and then he came back and built this really big army, right? He built St. Petersburg to kind of rival Versailles, and he kind of tried to, you know, mimic Louis the 14th. He also engaged in wars, right? Took over, Eastern Europe. Okay? Well, after that, Catherine the Great became the Queen of Russia. All right, so Catherine the Great, guys, was a Prussian noble married to... We skipped a whole bunch of people between Peter the Great, all right? We're going to go to Peter the Third, all right? So she was married to Peter the Third, and Peter the Third, guys, was not a great ruler, all right? He was not really interested in ruling. Some people considered him mentally unstable. He went around and had various affairs with lots of women. So not somebody that Russians thought was a capable ruler. All right? Now, Catherine the Great was married to this guy, and she read the philosophes, and she was convinced that Russia needed reform. All right? Now, it's debatable, guys, but basically, people, Russian nobles, because Peter III was such a horrible ruler, Russian nobles kind of approached her and said, hey, Catherine, are you okay if, like, things go down? And Catherine's like, I'm not opposed to things going down, like things happening. And that was kind of the extent of it, guys. So basically, nobles murdered Peter III, and she became the Empress of Russia in 1762. All right? Now, did she come out and say, I want Peter III murdered? No. But was she cool with it? Yeah, probably. All right? But anyway, guys, Catherine the Great now becomes the ruler of Russia. All right, now, one of the things, now remember, we're trying to find out, are these people Enlightenment or not? One of the first things that she did, guys, was she created this thing called the Legislative Commission. Now, guys, commission means like a group of people with a purpose of doing something, right? Legislative means lawmaking. So a lawmaking group of people, all right? So what she did was she wanted to find out what the biggest problems of Russia are. How very scientific. She got people, representatives from all parts of Russia, to get together and figure out Russia's problems. Now, guys, that's a very Enlightenment thing, right? Okay, to say, hey, we need data. We need to know what's going on. So people from all over Russia, guys, came together and they discussed the problems and they wrote down their problems. They created this big list of things that are going on in Russia that needed to be fixed, all right? So, guys, this helped her gather information about Russia. And, guys, Russia is massive. And without this information, guys, it's kind of hard to rule. All right, now we have people in our country and in other countries all the time. Guys create commissions to go figure things out. All right, like, hey, what's going on? And once again, guys, just the fact that she sent a big group of people to go collect data is a very Enlightenment thing. And this data, guys, is going to show her what's going on in Russia and what the major problems are. Now, is she going to fix those problems? That's something else, all right? Pause if you need to. All right, guys, the Charter of Nobility. So, guys, a charter is like a law, all right? So, one of the things that the Russian rulers had always been kind of worried about, because it happened in the past, is nobles rising up against her. So one of the first things that she did was she wanted to lay out the rules of nobles and kind of ensure that they would never rise up against her. So the Charter of Nobility is like this law saying, hey, look, this guarantees that nobles will have the same rights as they've always had and the same privileges that they've always had. We're not going to take away noble rights or noble privileges, all right? And what that did, guys, was it helped her make friends with the nobles. Now remember, guys, like Austrians, other groups, guys, kind of piss off their nobles when they start a lot of reforms, right? Well, right off the bat, guys, with the Charter of Nobility, Catherine the Great says, look, I'm not here to take away your power, all right? I'm not here to take away your stuff. You have the same rights and the same privileges that you've always had, okay? All right, now, another thing that she did to kind of help Russia was Russia, for the first time, guys, started to export stuff around Europe. Now, guys, there's some words you need to kind of know. We'll talk about them more in the next chapter. Import. Import, guys, is when your country buys goods from another country and you bring them into your country. You import them. Exports are where you sell stuff to another country and you make lots of money, right? Countries make money by exporting or selling to other places. So it's really good for their economy, guys, when you start to export and you sell stuff to other nations. It makes money for your country. Well, guys, Catherine the Great is going to make Russia, for the first time, an exporting country. They're going to export grain because Russia has these huge chunks of land where they can grow large portions of grain and other crops. She's going to export furs and other goods, and what that's going to do, guys, is that's going to start bringing wealth into Russia. So, guys, she's going to start bringing income into Russia, all right? Now, one of the things that she's not going to do, guys, is end serfdom. Why would she not end serfdom, guys? Well, what happens in other countries when you take away landlords' labor, right? Their labor force. You piss them off. You piss off the nobles. So she didn't want to anger the nobles, so she did not end serfdom. As a matter of fact, guys, serfdom in Russia is not going to be ended until close to the 1900s. So, guys, they're going to have peasants in Russia until close to the 1900s. Isn't that crazy, guys? It's one of the reasons that Russia stays behind for a very long time. Now, guys, just like other absolute rulers, she's going to kind of go to war. But, guys, she's not going to go to war with Europeans. She's going to go to war with the Ottoman Empire. All right, now, the Ottoman Empire, guys, is like the Middle East, all right? It's down here. It's this Muslim empire that's existed for a very long time. And, guys, it's slowly kind of getting taken over by Europe. So the purpose of fighting the Ottoman Empire, guys, was to gain access to warm water ports. As you can see, guys, Russia is surrounded by the Arctic Ocean and very cold weather ports, right? But, guys, if Russians can slowly get down to the Mediterranean, then they can start trading all over Europe. All right, all of the ports that Russia has contact with are pretty much iced over for most of the year. Therefore, you can't really use them to get ships to sell stuff all over Europe, right? So the purpose of the war with the Ottoman Empire was to gain more warm water exports. So Russia is going to gain a lot of territory, okay? Russia gains a lot of land. All right, guys, this area right in here, as you can see. All right, guys, Russia kind of starts off with the orange, and then under Peter the Great, they get with the purple, and then under Catherine the Great, guys, they get even more and more territory. So Russia, guys, is slowly becoming an empire. All right? Pause if you need to. All right, now, before we move on, guys, was Catherine the Great really Enlightenment? Not really, guys. She had a few things, like I said. She had the whole legislative commission, but, guys, not really Enlightenment thinking, all right? She didn't free the peasants. She didn't grant religious toleration or anything like that, right? Okay, last thing we're going to talk about, guys, is Poland. Now, you might think, where the heck is Poland, all right? Well, guys, Poland is this kingdom that used to be one of the biggest rivals to Russia and, guys, a very powerful nation in Europe. But, guys, as you've seen in past notes, Poland is slowly getting taken over by other nations. All right, guys, if you remember, we talked about, like the Thanos snap, Mr. Europe, I don't feel so good, right? That's the last time we talked about Poland. Well, the word partition, guys, means to divide into parts, okay? So, guys, in 1772, you have the first partition of Poland. And basically, Russia, Austria, and Prussia are all powerful right now. The Habsburgs, the Hohenzollerns in Prussia, and, guys, Catherine and Peter the Great, the czars of Russia, are becoming more and more powerful. And what they start doing, guys, is they realize, hey, we're becoming powerful, we're really near each other, and we don't ever want to go to war with each other. So how do we stop ourselves from going to war? Look, guys, here's Prussia, here's Austria, here's Russia. I've got an idea. Let's divide up Poland, and if we divide up Poland, then that will create kind of buffer areas where we won't actually need to fight each other. So they basically agreed that all three powers would partition Poland, all right? What did Poland have to say about this? Well, guys, think about what we've learned about Poland. What could they say about this? They didn't have a strong, absolute king, right? All the nobles were divided. Because they were so divided, guys, there's nothing they could do about it. So powerful Russia, Prussia, and Austria are going to slowly take over Poland. All right, they didn't have a strong centralized government, and they could not stop them. Now, this hurt Poland, but it probably prevented a war between Austria, Prussia, and Russia because they were all expanding so rapidly, and eventually, guys, they would have bumped into each other and started a fight, right? Well, rather than wait and bump into each other, like I said, they just decided to divide up Poland. All right? So the first partition of Poland happened in 1772, guys, and it won't be the last partition. All right, now why is all this important? Well, guys, you'll see later on that after World War I, we kind of cut Poland back out of all of these nations, and that's going to cause, future problems later down the road. But anyway, guys, so hopefully what we've learned, guys, is that some of these absolutists really did try to make Enlightenment ideals, and some of them not so much, okay? But anyway, guys, the Enlightenment, as you're going to see in the next chapter, really lays the foundation for a lot of things to happen. All right? It's come up with a lot of new ideas, and a lot of kings and queens are trying to adopt some of these new ideas to keep people from having a revolution to make a government that has all of these ideas. And in the next chapter, guys, we're going to talk about how one group of people say we're breaking away and we're making our own enlightened government, guys. And that group of people is going to be the United States. All right? That's the end of the notes, guys. I'll see you later.